Good evening, guys, and welcome to my analysis slash feelings about the E3 of 2017. Now, the conferences are officially over. I think it ended with Nintendo yesterday, and I have a 1,500 word document with notes on everything that happened. Now, to go through all that would be way too long and way too boring, so I'm not gonna do that. Instead, I'm just gonna quickly skim through what really piqued my interest and what really annoyed me on the other hand, and probably put some gameplay over this so it's not just me talking. Maybe get some Warframe, I don't know yet. Well, anyways, let me just get right into it and start it off with EA, which for some reason they keep pushing these conferences earlier and earlier. So EA took off what was it, 2 days before everyone else. Didn't matter. So they did some of their sports, which their whole conference went like that. They had a game, and then they had sports. They had another cool red game, and then they had sports. Which, if you're into those sports games, you probably enjoyed this conference a lot. But that's just not the case for me. I couldn't care less about FIFA or NBA or Madden. I never played those games. But alright, I'm not the target audience there, I guess, so that's fine. Then they did some DLC about Battlefield 1, which was pretty interesting. Though I still haven't played much of it. I don't know, after Battlefield 3 I just kind of laid Battlefields off, and I don't know, didn't really get me back that much. But they showed a new Need for Speed, which, that's fine. But I don't know, I didn't really see any crazy innovation in there. It looked polished, that's fine, but no, it's another Need for Speed. The last good one, in my opinion, was Carbon, which back in, what was that, 2007 when that came out, maybe 8? I don't know. Then they had something really interesting. The dude who made Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, he walked up on stage. Awesome charisma, by the way. That guy was kind of fun, and he talked about his new IP that he's working on together with EA, and it's called A Way Out, and it's gonna be this co-op, split-screen only game about you and your friend, presumably, who you're playing this on a couch with, escaping a prison and then doing something else. I mean, it was kind of difficult to tell. But it is interesting because you constantly have both views, you and your friend or someone online. So it shows for some really interesting gameplay, like one player being in a cutscene while the other is able to walk around and observe. So good on them for that. Then they teased fucking 10 seconds of Anthem, which looks amazing, but I'll get to that a bit later. And then they showed Battlefront 2, and then they played the match for about, I don't know, 30 minutes. It was, I mean, I would love to say it was awesome, but to me it was just okay. I didn't play the first Battlefront, and I mean, here they kind of said that, yeah, we got feedback which was pretty critical about a lot of things, but yeah, we're improving, we're adding content, thank God. And it's got things, it's got a class system now, which it looked interesting. It looked a lot more intriguing than the first Battlefront, and it might actually make me get it if it turns out to be good at release. I'm definitely not pre-ordering anything. I'm gonna wait for reviews and see how that pans out. And that was it. That was the end of EA conference. All over, I gotta say, not terrible, not great, but as far as EA standards go, I actually kind of liked it. I liked the pacing that they did, not bunching all the sports games at once, just kind of having one and then switching it up and then switching it up again. It made it a lot easier to watch. Then we move on to Microsoft, and these guys, Jesus Christ, this was probably the fastest conference, not because it would be short, but because of how fast they went through everything. They had 42 games shown in an hour and a half, or close to 2 hours. That's like a game every 2-3 minutes. That's insane. And obviously, they started it off with Xbox One X, a god-awful name, but the world's most powerful console ever to be made. it does 4K and 60 FPS, and they just jerk themselves off for 20 minutes about 4K, and this game is 4K, and this Xbox is 4K, and your TV will be 4K even if it's not 4K. And you know, something that was interesting is that it is going to be the smallest Xbox yet, which, you know, good for you. Applause for that. That is really interesting. And they announced the price to be $499, so, you know, $500. I think people expected that. It was kind of announced a bit earlier, that day, maybe even the day before. So, you know, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it competes, because it's expensive. It's more expensive than its competitors, but it's more powerful. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. And then they kind of showcased its graphics on Forza Motorsport 7. It's a racing game. I mean, it looked good. Yeah, again, it looked good in 4K 60 FPS, even though the stream kind of has like a downgrading function, so it probably didn't look as good as it has the potential to be. It still looks alright, and you know, I could totally see the new Xbox doing well because of the graphics, but it's gonna take more than that. Which, you know, lucky for Microsoft, they did say that at least, I think 22 of these games are Xbox exclusives, which, you know, good for them. Probably gonna give them some kind of an edge, at least, in the market. So then they moved on to something awesome. They showed the new Metro Exodus, they call it. And we only got a single trailer, which was very much like on rails with kind of cinematic-y animations. You know, that was not the way the gameplay is gonna look. But what I found interesting is that it looked to be a bit open world, and you know, that was probably one of my biggest wishes after I finished Last Light is, please God, make Metro open world. Give me an open world Metro game. If they do that, oh yes, please, I am asking for nothing more. However, one thing I gotta say is, for some reason the surface looked pretty chill. I thought Metro was always based on, you know, the underground being like pretty horrible but safe, and the surface just being like the worst place ever. But here he was walking around the surface without a gas mask, it looked like, no problem. So I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, this is something I'm looking forward to. Didn't show anything else, you know. Then Assassin's Creed Origins, interesting setting. I thought the graphics looked worse than the previous Assassin's Creed, but might have just been the downgrade for the stream. What I really didn't like is how they're trying to introduce like RPG elements into it, giving you a leveling system and whatnot. So I guess now some enemies are going to be too high level for you to fight. I don't know, I don't get that, and it sounds stupid to me. Like, why is that something that they thought would benefit the game? I thought that Assassin's Creed was always more about skill in taking the high level enemies, not really being high enough level, and I don't know. I'm not going to touch on that too much. Then they did some discussing about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, how it's coming to Xbox and whatnot. Then they went, you know, I'm going to skip through a lot of this because I don't want it to take too long. So they went through a few games, Deep Rock Galactic, State of Decay, the Darwin Project. Then they showed some Minecraft, which, you know, they're getting a 4K graphics pack for the new Xbox. Yay. Then they showed a really interesting one, which piqued my interest so much. It's called The Last Night, and it's very much like 8-bit, kind of depressing, futuristic, and neon-y graphics. It looked amazing. Like, I don't know about the story too much. I know they discussed it in like a panel afterwards, where they talked about like basically it's taking place in a world where robots have just basically gotten better than humans in every aspect. So, you know, you kind of just exist and you don't really have much to do as a human there. It looked interesting. And that's all I can say to that. Didn't show much. Then they showed Artful Escape, Code Vein, Sea of Thieves. You know, that's it looked good. They showed some gameplay. It looked awesome. I just highly encourage you to watch that gameplay video. It's probably going to be up on YouTube if it's not already. That game looks good. I don't really have anything to say there. You can shoot yourself out of a cannon. And then Super Lucky's Tale, Cuphead, Crackdown 3. Then they went through this like ID at Xbox, which they're basically like supporting smaller developers, and they in like super fast succession show like 20 games with about 2 seconds in between, which, alright. Didn't even get all the names, just that's the thing. Then they showed Ashen. Okay, now they announced a new Life is Strange game, which, yes, I need that. I need that continuation after the god-awful ending of the first season. But they promised they would have a new cast, and they fucking don't. Chloe is probably going to be the main protagonist, which, alright. However, what really kind of concerns me is that this is a prequel. This is supposed to be taking place before all the Max Chloe stuff that happens in season 1. So, are the time rewinding powers not gonna be there at all? Because I thought that was like a pretty big important thing in Life is Strange 1. But there's no reason they would be here, so that's not gonna be a thing. And also, I'm really wondering how they're gonna have any tension in there since we already know what happens. If they're gonna have Rachel disappear, we know that she is found dead in the graveyard and that Jefferson killed her. So how exactly are they gonna do that? I have no idea. They talked about it in the panel as well. Basically saying that they wanna like focus very much on Chloe and like the emotional side and whatnot. I am interested to see how that pans out, but slightly concerned, you know? If there's no tension, like the story elements are gonna be ruined. Then they showed Shadow of War, which, you know, they showed like an expanded Nemesis system, a way you take down fortresses and you like build an army for yourself. Pretty interesting, but I didn't play Shadow of Mordor, so not too much hype there. Then they showcased New Orient, the Blind Forest game, which I should probably play that. I don't know. I've seen some gameplay. People apparently were excited about it. I found it kind of meh, but I should probably play it. I don't know. That did not. I was not like wow on that announcement. And then they showed more of Anthem, which looks amazing. Please let that be a good game. It looks like Destiny and Mass Effect had a baby, and it was actually a good game. It has good looking graphics, co-op. They showed like this gameplay trailer where people were kind of talking as if though like they're not in the game but they're actually playing it. And they showed jetpacks flying around the open world. The wildlife having like dynamic quests. It looked fucking amazing. You can go underwater with the jetpack. It's sweet. And they ended it off on a high note. So Microsoft, I think, altogether had a pretty good conference. I mean, yeah, every other game was like exclusive for Xbox or showed in 4K, but overall a good conference. Then we have the black fucking horse for all of this, Bethesda. Probably the biggest disappointment of E3 this year. So, yeah, you know, I saw this one guy on Twitter describe it perfectly, who said Bethesda is like that one 35-year-old guy who still brags about his baseball career when he was 15. And that fits so well. It's like constantly they're just reminding you, hey, remember these games that we made in the past? Those are still a thing. We're still working on that for some reason and not developing new shit. So, you know, they started off with Doom VR, which that's actually cool. I didn't play much of the Doom in the last years, or was it 2 years ago? Can't even tell. I didn't play too much of it, but they're bringing it to VR, and I could see that working. Then they showed Fallout 4 VR, which I mean we all knew it was coming. I just don't really see the point. I mean, I don't play Fallout 4 in short sessions. If I play that, I'm playing at least for like 2 hours. And 2 hours in VR, I've had the HTC Vive on, I've played around with it, and that's probably like one of the best VR headsets you can get. I would not want to be in that for 2 hours. You get kind of warm, and I mean it's not uncomfortable for like a 10-minute play session, but Fallout 4, I don't see the benefit. And they showed, you know, DLC for Elder Scrolls Online, which great. Haven't played it. It was off-LED release. It's apparently a bit better now, but still, you know, EA. And then they showed some more DLC for Elder Scrolls Legends, which I didn't even know they came out. It's a card game which no one plays, but you know what? Great. It's out. How about that? So that's a thing. And so far we're about halfway in now, and not a single new thing has been shown, which good job on you. Okay, then they showed some Dishonored trailer stuff, which this is either a DLC or a spin-off. I didn't really catch that. I think it's a spin-off. And it's called The Death of the Outsider, and they showed a trailer, cinematic one, no gameplay. I don't really care. The first Dishonored was good, second one I didn't like, so yeah, that's it. Then they showed the Quake Champions, which, you know, you've probably already played the beta, or you definitely knew that it was coming. They did announce that there's going to be a esports championship at QuakesCon, so hey, that's pretty cool. But nothing new, to be honest. Like, what? Why? Then they showed The Evil Within 2, which I would be excited, I guess, but all they showed again is a cinematic trailer with not much else. Like, don't get me wrong, the imagery was fucking cool. It looked all like psychotic, and it would get like weird faces popping out of this white substance and getting dragged back in, and like hands twisting the other way around. It looked weird and it looked cool, but I don't know, I need to see gameplay to get excited for a game like that, and I didn't see any, so yay. And then they showed Wolfenstein 2, which probably was like the saving grace. That game looked good. They showed like a mishmash of what looked like in-game graphics, and then like cinematic graphics. It's gonna have some story, and that probably looked the best of all they had to show there. Good on you, Bethesda. You got at least a single game. That's and that was it. The whole thing was over in like 30 minutes. They literally walked on stage in the beginning, then they played this super long video, well, not super long, like 25-minute-ish video with all these games in it, and then they just walk and be like, thank you, we Bethesda consider ourselves one of the best developers. I'm like, what? Really, after this you consider yourself one of the best developers? Fuck off. Okay, now then we had, okay, let's go to Ubisoft now. So they brought Miyamoto on stage, which, yay, good for you. It was a bit cringe, but that guy is awesome. For some reason he still doesn't know how to speak English, which how, you know, if you're that big in the industry. I mean, it's not that difficult of a language to learn, but alright. And then they showed Mario plus Rabbids, which apparently that's supposed to be cool, but I don't care. More Assassin's Creed Origins, another trailer. No gameplay. They showed more gameplay in Microsoft's conference, but here it was just a trailer, I think. So, IDK. The Crew 2, which yet again okay. I didn't care about Crew 1. Then they showed some more South Park, The Fractured Butthole. Not something we all knew it was coming, but they showed a bit of an extended trailer, perhaps. It looks like fun. It looks awesome. I cannot wait to see what they do with that. I loved the first one, and I'm really wanting to love the second one. So please make that good. And they showed a bit of a weird one called Transference. Freaking Elijah Wood was there, Frodo from Lord of the Rings, and it was weird. It looked like live. First I heard live action, and I was like, fuck me, it's gonna be another Quantum Break. But then they said it was gonna be VR, and it's like this weird live action psycho thing. It was strange. But it looked interesting. I'm interested to see what it's gonna be like. Then they showed Skull and Bones, which is pretty much Assassin's Creed 4, just on the boats, like nothing else. And it looks good yet again. Good on them, but yeah, I even have in my notes like it's super reminiscent of Black Flag, even when in the graphics and whatnot. And they showed some more things: Just Dance, South Park for mobile, Starling, Steep. Then they showed Far Cry 5. So I mean, we all knew that was coming, and they talked about how the Hope County in Montana is overrun by this fanatical cult. They showed a gameplay trailer, showed you shooting some bad guys. Explained this kind of guns for hire system. It can be co-op or it can be NPCs. You can have a dog, and you know, it looked interesting. I'm really looking to see what they can change about the used Far Cry formula, because Far Cry Primal, it wasn't a bad game. I finished it, but it wasn't great in my opinion. So I hope they kind of can get back on track with this one. It looks good. The graphics look alright. And then, to finish it all off, they showed Beyond Good and Evil 2, which apparently the first one came out in like 2003, which is almost like 15 years back. So it was about damn time, and people were excited, but I never played the first one, and I didn't even like. I've heard about it, but never any interested in there. The trailer looked cool. It was all cinematic and whatnot. So yay! I guess you can be excited about that if you liked the first one. I don't know. And then we have Sony. I'm not gonna be talking about Nintendo because there was literally nothing interesting for me there. I'm not a huge fan of Nintendo. Please don't kill me. Sony. All right. They started off with this fucking waterfall, which I thought was pretty cool. They had like the kind of waterfalls that have multiple, you know, exits for the water, and they can basically like create pictures by you know, dousing the water in different speeds and different heights. So they made the waterfall create symbols of all the games they're gonna show, and that looked fucking awesome. And they started off with Uncharted, well, The Lost Legacy. I mean, we all knew that was coming. There's nothing really new there. It was a cinematic trailer. We're gonna have a female protagonist. Yeah, it looked like it had explosions. It looked like any other Uncharted. I mean, the graphics looked cool, but it was a cinematic trailer, so you can't really judge anything from there. Then they showed some DLC for Horizon. Then they showed Days Gone, and we already had a glimpse of this before, but they actually showed some gameplay, and the zombies in this look fucking amazing. Like actual hordes of zombies that you could be like, because you never understand like Walking Dead, like how do people die to the hordes? Here you can totally see it. The zombies are fast as fuck, and there's a lot of them. There's like dozens of them at a time. That looked good, and graphics wise it looked kind of like Uncharted 4, I guess, and it looked like it has open world, which that would be awesome, and definitely looking forward to see more about that. Then we had Monster Hunter Shadow of the Colossus remake, which alright, but there already was one, so they're just remaking it again. It's like, hey, remember this game that came out like fuck ton of years ago? Hey, we're still remaking it into better graphics. Then they showed some Marvel vs. Capcom. Really interesting character interactions in there. I like that story mode, but didn't see much other innovation, to be honest. So once again, it was just a trailer, and that's like the case with most of E3. They just showed like trailers, not much else. So it's kind of hard, you know, to get excited about it without having some gameplay to go on. They showed Call of Duty World War II. Okay, I mean, nothing crazy about that. Skyrim VR, which is like, for fuck's sake, just no. Starry Child, Impatient, Final Fantasy VR, Bravo Team VR, Moss VR. They showed some God of War. It looks interesting, but I never played any of the God of War games, so I don't care. And then they showed some more Detroit Become Human. It looks cool. The graphics look awesome, even though it was more of like a cinematic slash gameplay trailer. But what I found slightly concerning is like, yet again, when it came to actually making a choice, like it's a story-driven game, right? And making a choice, it just kind of give you like 3 options, and I just hope it really actually has an impact on the game. It doesn't just end up being like, hey, your choices matter at the end. Then they showed some Destiny 2, which, yes, we already got trailers a few weeks back. Well, I know they're just trying to remind us, like, hey, that's actually a thing. Should be saving money for that? I don't know. They showed it, and in the end, they finished it off with a pretty good one, with the new Spider-Man game, made by people behind Batman. It has very similar gameplay, but the movement and the combat looks sweet as fuck. I mean, all the, like, the freaking QTE sequences that were in there look intense as shit, but yeah, they were just like very simple button press QTEs, which is kind of like good and bad at the same time. But Spider-Man's movements look amazing, and the ground combat with like the interaction with the environment looks sweet as fuck. And yeah, that was basically it. They finished it off on that. They were like, thank you very much, and you can go back to sleep now, because since EA takes place in America and I'm here in Europe, a filthy European peasant, I gotta watch these at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Literally, Microsoft for me finished at 1 o'clock in the morning, so then I went to sleep for 3 hours to wake up at 4 and watch Bethesda. Yay. Good for me. I do not need sleep anyways. And guys, that's about all that I can tell you about my experience. E3 is obviously still going. The conferences are just the beginning, but you know, I really cannot afford to go to US now to actually visit E3. Maybe next year. Who knows? It's definitely something I would love to do one day. Maybe get you guys actually in there in the future, but not this year. So anyways, guys, make sure to let me know down in the description what your thoughts were on the new games and releases and announcements and or E3 overall. I must say I was kind of disappointed, but then again, that's like, I don't really know what I expected. I maybe just expected someone like Bethesda to actually start making games again. They're slowly becoming the new Valve. But that's all I can say. For now, hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a bit long, just 20 something minutes of me talking, so I still hope it was somewhat enjoyable. For now, wish you guys the best of this evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.